Okay, we're talking about episode 4, Cory's Alternative Friends. Cory and Sean's pointers on the map in all the wrong places. Always love that. That opening line, give me your hand, and the look on Cory's face is just everything. It's so cute. And then, of course, Sean is like, ooh, there it is. The moment it all started. I love when he's like, can you piece weight on this? I'm Gibraltar, says Sweeney. And then he's like, I have a neighbor that sings along with the Little Sisters Barney tapes. Oh, this is the mention of Sean's sister. The only episode we ever hear that on. Honestly, his little sister, Morgan, is like the most mischievous yet least annoying kid I've ever seen. She's adorable. It is funny when she melts her doll and then she's like, I don't care what she looks like, she's my doll. And then she's, Amy's like, we'll get you a new one. Okay, bye. And this is the most iconic moment for Topanga with her poem. I like that Topanga's like, why do you care so much about what people think? And just kind of giving Cory that perspective. And of course he wants to blend in. And then he's like, hey, that's my cap. And she's like, well, if it's important to you, then it's beautiful. I do love the funny line when Sean comes in and he's like, and he sees Topanga with the lipstick all over her face. Use a mirror, babe. I feel kind of bad for Topanga when they're like, oh, we're working on a different project. Really? What is it? Like she wants to be invited. And then Sean's just like, no, it's got nothing to do with that. For only being mentioned in one episode, she does get a lot of Stacy said, Stacy said, Stacy said. From the sister that only gets mentioned once. I know that Will thinks his acting was terrible in these episodes, but honestly, I think it's great. He makes it look really easy, and he's very cool and calm about it. Cory's wig is so bad in this, the straight flat hair. And I do like that they got Morgan a businesswoman doll, because she doesn't need Ken to support her. I like how Alan and Will both had the same kind of, hey, I knew a guy that did this, and he bald as a cue ball. And Topanga not laughing at Cory was such a nice moment when all the other kids were laughing at him. I do like that Cory can kind of bounce back, even though he's at the different table with the different kids. He's like, hey, you need to do this to get people to sign your petition. I guess I'll help you because life is strange and now so am I. I love when Eric sees Cory with the curlers in his hair and then he sneaks a picture and he's like, I own you now. It's kind of funny, the crazy, like, high up wig that Cory was wearing at the end of this episode actually looked better than the other one. The first kiss, handcuffed to a locker. Sounds so bad, but yet so innocent, so funny, and the look on Cory's face is everything. Wasn't that Gia on this episode, the bad girl Gia from Full House? I think that was her name. And then, like, he has his hair back, and Topanga's like, I see you got your hair back. There's always a seat here for you. And she has a red cap, too, and they kind of look at each other. It's so cute, and so it begins. But I do like how they kind of illustrate, how they're different, and that's okay. Okay, so my thoughts on this podcast. I have to say, like, it is a blast from a past that David Trainer did Designing Women. That was one of my favorite shows when growing up. And I totally, and my other favorite show, hands down, That 70s Show. So the fact that he's done like 3 shows that I love, hello, that's amazing. Isn't it crazy to think that Topanga almost wasn't Topanga? I can't even imagine. And the whole story about her thinking she didn't get the part and then realizing she did and screaming on the phone with her dad, it was so cute. Total fills. And it's so crazy to realize that,
Danielle really had to work at becoming Topanga. So it's just a credit to her acting. And it's so funny to hear writers say that he didn't feel like they were acting, and his whole take on that was really interesting, in my opinion. And I have to say, I completely understand what Topanga means by the whole, we appreciate you saying that we're resilient, but we really wish we didn't have to be. Like, oh my God, that is the story of my life. I totally felt her on all of that. It was interesting that there were no women on that list for the old school sitcoms that changed the show that they were talking about. And then I did remember that Kirstie Alley was actually on one of those lists, but it actually wasn't for a good thing. It was, oh, characters that came in and people hated them. But I always loved Kirstie Alley. I loved her on that show. I still think she's fun. I loved her in Look Who's Talking, and like anything that she's been in, I loved her. So I just want to say she is so much fun as an actor. Like, I love her acting ability. Like, everything I've seen her in is just great. But I know she was on a list. It just wasn't for the good side, which kind of goes to Danielle's point about how, why are women either not on the list or they're vilified? And I think we have to give a huge bravo and props to Danielle's mom for doing those braids every night. Like, oh my God, work. Dang. Bravo. And also, like, that comment about you're going to be one of those girls that doesn't shave her legs. I feel that did not age well. But I do know that Topanga's reaction to that comment from Cory is the only thing that makes it slightly passable. So I do agree with him on that. So those are my thoughts for this podcast for episode 4. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.